Okay, so I think it's a good time for us to start the session today. I will share the screen first and then walk you through our session today. So thanks everyone again for joining the TikTok with the very cool name "How to Build the Fast and Reliable Solutions with the Hands-on Experience with Docker and Kubernetes." Uh, First, let me just have a very quick introduction about myself. My name is Hao. I graduated in kind of the computer information sciences from the Auckland University of Technology. I start in Netcompany in 2015 as a senior specialist, and today I'm a manager in the private sector in Vietnam. So in Vietnam, we have public and private sector. So private sector is more about the enterprise solution. Public sector is more about the government projects. What I personally like about Netcompany, this is a place that I can learn about different business domains and the customers. I have amazing colleges and around me, and I really love the culture of the Netcompany. I like here. I always being challenged throughout my career, and this is how I grow up. My hobbies: I play football, and you are listening to the top scorer of Netcompany Vietnam at the moment. Um, for the social events, I love it. I love it so much, and I also love music mixing. I can mix the music and make some remix as well. Boop, boop, boop. So also a very quick introduction about Netcompany. So here, as you can see, this is one of the office in Denmark of Netcompany. This is in Copenhagen, and in front of it we have a pack, a small pack, but it's very nice one. Do, do, do. Okay, a few facts about Netcompany. So we are one of the fastest growing and the most success IT company in the Nordic and aiming to become a Northern European market leader. So you can see that we have offices in the 6 countries, and in the past 10 years until now, we keep growing really, really fast. Like at least 20% of the average revenue each year. This is a huge number, and the revenue of last year is kind of around 10 trillion VN dong. That's a huge number. And in the quarter 2 of 2021, we have more than 3,200 people around the 6 countries. And we are keep growing really fast. Not just in Denmark, Poland, like in on around the 6 countries, especially in Vietnam, we're gonna go big in the next year. Let me just show you a very quick about our activities. Outside of the working hours, that's one of the reasons I love the culture of Netcompany. We have a lot of cool people, young people around. They have full of energies, and they love to do something together, and have outdoor activities together. This is one of the things that connect the people in Netcompany, and it's very fun. It's very cool that you have friends in the company in your team as well. So every day you feel like motivated, and you want to go to the office. You want to go to work to see your friends there. And just imagine that you have like friends in your project. They're gonna help you, and your life will be much easier. And you can see that we have a lot of team activities like cake making, painting, candle making, supporting, canoeing, amazing race as well. And we have bars. We go to the bars of a pub every Friday night. So here we work hard, but we also play really, really hard. Okay, that's about how we work and how we play. Now I think it's time to start the main topic of today, which is Docker and Kubernetes, the game changers, right? Okay, I will just give the stage to Tuan. So in the company, we usually call him Mr. T. Can you just give people a quick introduction about yourself? And yep, thank you.
So I'm going to share my screen, right?
Yep, I see. I see your screen.
Okay, if you can see my screen. So, okay. So I just would like to briefly introduce by myself so that you can know who are talking to you.
Mhm.
Graduated from Cantor University. My major is networking and communication. I started in Netcompany in 2018. Currently, I am a senior consultant. I have experiences in different projects in either public and private sectors. As you can know, how already explained about the public and private sector. Uh, what what I personally like about net companies here, I learn how to work professionally because it's an international company. We have many offices in different countries. There are always chances and challenges in a project with the various business domain and the customers. And of course, we have the amazing college. And as many other people, I have my personal hobbies. I like sports, football. I mean, I watch and also play. I like the movies and I like social networking. Yep. And this is the agenda today. So we will talk about the Docker and Kubernetes. This is a little bit short session so that we cannot present many details and advanced things in the Docker and Kubernetes. However, we'll try to give you the overview of what are Docker and Kubernetes and how they can solve the problems in the software development. We will have also some live demonstration and then we can conclude with some key takeaways. And at the end, we have the question and answer. Okay. Um, okay. To start it, I think we'll try to give you a context of the story. So maybe how can you help me to give the context?
Sure. My pleasure. So before we really jump into the technical terms and like the complex things, like Mr. T said that. Sorry. So I would try to give you a context of how good the Docker fit into our command scenarios, right? So just imagine that, uh, like I'm the man. I have the toy store that I sell all kind of kid store, kid toys for the kids, and they love my toys. And my customer, they are the parents of the kids, and they really want to make the kid happy, and that's why they usually buy my products via their phone. I have a website, and they love to order the toys online, and I usually use the Grab Express. I really don't like this shipping service. It's really crap, and I usually put all of the toys that get ordered into the truck and deliver the toys to my customer. Usually it get delivered successfully, but there are sometimes, or maybe many times recently, because I have many new orders. So the Crab Express cannot just ensure that they can deliver all of the toys or the products that get ordered to my dear customer, and they really get mad and get angry. And you know what? The driver, they don't care. So I said I have orders that I have to deliver. So see you next time. Have a good day. But how can they have a good day with such a bad emotion? Have they don't have what they order, and you know what they want to do? They open the phone, they find my store, and they rate it 1 star. So that's how packaging damage my business. And I pretty sad, I have no idea what did I do to get 1 star. I try to produce a lot of high quality products. I try to make people happy. I put a lot of effort in my products, but what's wrong? So after some investigation, I know about, okay, there is a problem, and let's see how they can fix it. Okay, so now instead of putting everything on the truck, I put everything inside box. Easy. And I put my brand name here as well. It's also good for the marketing as well. So I put the box inside the truck and let the truck ship it. So now there's only two scenarios, right? One, the customer receive it. Two, they have nothing. So right. So if they have the box and they unbox it, they have everything they have ordered. Nice. So they're happy. They open the phone. They find my store. They rate it full star. Happy, easy money. So that's how the box fixed the problem. So what is the box in the IT world, right? Let's see what is the box. Docker. And today we're gonna talk about Docker. This is the box. This is the container. And this is one of the key things that we're gonna talk about tonight. So I will hand over these cool things to Mr. T and let him, introduce you about Docker. Yep, I can see your screen.
Uh, okay, my turn. So the box in IT world. So so Docker is actually the software platform that allow you to build and test and deploy application quickly. So do you see any relationship between the box and Docker now? It's actually not really new. The first release was in 2013 and it's written in Go language, programming language by Google. And it supports for multiple OS as Windows, Linux family, and the Mac OS also. And I think this is a good thing for the students. So if you are interested in researching the Docker, so it had pre-tiers. So you can easily register the account, download the Docker, and start learning about this. Okay, so what actually the problems Docker solves? So when you develop an application, it will be written in one or more programming language, and that need you to install the SDK, means software development kit. And I believe that you need to use some frameworks and the libraries also to build your application. So setting up these things is already a problem and consuming much of time in your machine. So this thing we call this the matrix from hell. And beside that, the software application is not only about coding, but you need to configure something in XML files, the robotic files also. So how can you make it available in your customer environment? And saying that you can set up this in your local laptop in 1 day. So are you sure that you can make it in your customer environment at 1 day? Will it work? We don't know. So that Docker will help you to package and ship the developed system fast and reliably to the customer environment. Um, from this, I think to be easier in understanding, you can imagine about when you do the project in the school. You set up your local laptop with some .NET and IDE and some library and use frameworks, and then uh, you need to demo for your letter. And if your laptop is suddenly broken and your code actually can be stored somewhere in the cloud in the GitHub, but how can you can ensure that you can set up the same thing in your letter laptop, and Docker will help you to solve it easily. And to get insight more about how Docker can do that, it's actually use the container. And what is the container? Here, imagine that the box I mentioned earlier, the container is actually the box. It's a completely isolated environment, and it have the our processing, the services, and networking interface, and of course the mount, or the you can think about the volumes or the storage. And the containers share the same operation system level. Um, by the way, when saying about this, so anyone have used a virtual machine like VMware or VirtualBox? So we would like to put a pawn in the pawn tab. You can see this, and you can vote. So let's try to have some interactions.
Yep. I think you can just open the phone tabs on the right hand side panel. And there's a question, have you used the virtual machine as the VMware or VirtualBox? So you can click yes or no, and then submit your answer. I just submit my answer. Nice. Do, do, do. It's super cool that I can see more and more answer coming.
Yeah, could see most of people are already use the virtual machines like
Yep.
VMware or VirtualBox.
Hmm.
Okay, and why I mentioned about this? Because when we say about the container, we can think about a virtual machine also.
Hmm.
However, Docker is is better because it's lightweight. So if we do a comparison between the virtual machine and the Docker, so you can think about this thing. So the virtual machine is likely a truck. It carry the cars, and the car carry the passenger inside. While our Docker is just a bus, and it carry the passenger inside.
Nice.
That's just a mapping. And now we are going to compare in something more academic. So you have the hardware, means you have the servers. So the virtual machines also is on the hardware, and Docker is also the same. And on your server, a virtual machine needs a host OS, and Docker is the same. It can be Windows, Linux, or Mac. Okay, next thing. With virtual machine use the hypervisor core, and Docker use a Docker engine. So they are same, but just different function. Now, in virtual machine, you need a guest OS, means this is a car in the truck. But in Docker, we don't need it. And then on the top is your applications. So from the comparison, you can see the virtual machine is heavier than the Docker due to the guest OS, because Docker share the host OS. Okay. Um, so using Docker in this case, it can save you the significant resources as RAM, CPU, and storage. Now we have the overview of what's the Docker and what problems it solves and how it did it. Let's go through the typical workflow when we use Docker in software development. Will show you soon. Yeah. So you are the developer and you call your application. And after that, you need to repair a Docker file. Docker file is actually likely an instruction. It describe how to package or what is packages in your application. And then from the Docker file, Docker engine help you to build a Docker image. Docker image is actually a binary file. It's nothing complicated. And then, okay, here you can also imagine about the Docker image can be a K mode. Um, I think is it a strand word we don't usually use. In Vietnamese, it's khuôn bánh. And then when you have the Docker image, you need somewhere to store this and to share it to the other people, share to your customer, share to your colleague or your team. So we usually push the Docker image into the Docker Hub, and Docker Hub is just likely a server, and it store the images. And then in the other environment, uh, can be your colleague or your customer. They just pull the images and use them. By pull, you can think about this is actually download the images. Okay, um, I think I'm a little bit academic, so to be easier to get the inside of this flow, I'm going to do a very small demo. I hope that it can help. Okay, so here I'm already repair a small application. This is written by Node.js. Um, so um, to have this application in my machine, I need to install Node.js, npm, and some other library. You can see the library and dependency in this file. Um, some library, and now in my local machine, to start this application, I can do something like this. Um, then it will launch up a web server in my local machine. Okay, and we can try to access our application. I hope it work. Uh, since I try this application, so I know the port. No. Okay. Um, something. Hmm. Okay. It should work. No. I will try to restart this. Hmm, what? Hmm.
You know what? Like during the life of a developer, I usually hear a few common words
Yeah.
that developer usually say that it work on my machine, but why is not on the other environment? And another another statement that
Okay. It should
it
work.
should work.
It should
Yeah,
work.
it should work.
It's just
That's true.
slow.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay. God bless me. Okay, so you can see in the local machine, even we want to launch off our application is face a lot of surprise issue. And now, how can we deliver this application to our customer? Okay, so we back to the Docker flow. So after I finish my application, like the login page, I will need to prepare a Docker file. So the Docker file can be like this. Um, so it will take some time for you to learn or to understand the syntax in the Docker file, but currently we can think about it just an instruction, how to package and ship your application. And now, following the workflow, I just stopped the web server or stop the application, and then what next? Uh, Repair the Docker file. I already have it, and now make the Docker image. To make the Docker image, I already installed Docker in my machine. I just use the simple command Docker build and docs. Docs means that it specify we have the Docker file here, and then I want to name my image something like my initial in company and login and some version like for docs out, so I can tell to my colleague or my customer that I'm going to release the for doc out version. Okay, just wait a bit. So it's building the binary, I mean the Docker images. So in the meantime, we can check something. Uh, yeah, it's already done. So in another terminal, we can check the image. There are lots of images because it's my work. Okay, we can add more some filter. I already name my image as login. So you see here, I have two versions. The first one I already did it 5 hours ago, and for dog out, I have just make it. Okay, when what next in the workflow, we need to put this somewhere to share to the other parties like customer or colleague.
Mm.
Okay, to do this, we can just simply like Docker push, yeah, and the version, of course.
Don, can you just stop there for a while, please?
Yeah,
Uh, and I can notice that as you can see, can you just scroll up to the screen,
yeah.
display your two versions, please, terminals.
Okay, here,
Yep, and you can see that we have two version, and you can see that it's pretty heavy, right? Like 1.3, 1.34, 1.34 gigs. So it is the binary file, and it's quite big, and it was built based on a Docker file, which is very simple, right? It's not like rich to 1 kilobyte, but it can, based on the instruction, to create such a heavy, a big image file like that, right?
yeah. Uh, and when you do the Docker push like this, it's actually push your binary file into the Docker Hub. The
Mm,
server is online in the internet.
mm. So
Okay,
it's kind of we upload the image to a library or a hub, right?
yeah.
Mm,
So I don't think we should wait for this uploading 1 gigabyte. Oh no, it's really fast.
mm,
So when I check out my repository in Docker Hub, I can see, or you can see also, um, the version I already uploaded here 2 days ago, 3 hours ago, and right now. it here, and I can share you the link and provide you the permission, and then you can just use it
Mm.
or download it. And from the workflow, what next? So amazing that now I am a customer. I want to use that image. This means that I provide you the kmon, and then now you just make the K. And what it actually it does, is it Docker pool? But you should have some imagination that I'm currently in the different computer now, or you can actually do the same. So if your computer does not have this image, it will connect to the Docker Hub and then pull or download the image into your laptop. But I actually have it already, so I think it will do nothing except checking. Yeah, yeah, image is up to date. Just say so. And then, okay, let me check again. I think I already stopped the application in my local machine. So try to access again. It should not work now.
But you always somehow
Yeah.
find a way to work and surprise you.
Okay. It's not working now. Expected. And now imagine that you are the customer or you are a colleague in another machine. So what we need to do? Already pull or download the images. And now how to run it or how to make the cake. Just use a command docker run. Okay. Because I know my application run on port 7500. Okay, and the name of the image and run. So you can imagine that if you are a student and you need to demo in your lecturer machine, so just ask him or her to install Docker and then share the Docker image, and then you can start easily.
Mm,
And
super. I remember that like 10 years ago when I was a student, I just used the USB to copy all of the files from my laptop to my processor laptop, and I spent another 2 hours to do all kind of configuration on his laptop.
yeah,
And lucky me, I get felt that's the matter. So
yeah,
mhm,
I think it happened the same for our generation. USB.
that's true.
Okay, so now it's it's an interesting point now. I need to check if the application is working. Okay, okay, super. So it's working now. So you can see this is super easy to ship or it's super easy to package and ship, deliver, and then launch up your application. And you don't care about the operation system, and you don't care about the libraries. You don't need to install the SDK or anything else except Docker in the other machine. Okay. What next? Okay. Oh, this is the demo, and we have done the very small demo. It kind of the hello world in Docker. I'm going to show you a real case in our project. So I used to work on a project that in Denmark, the citizen they need to access to many different systems for managing their social data. For example, the healthcare data, the immigration, or the tax, the loan, bank, many things, and they need to access to the different system. So they have many different credentials, means user and password to remember, and sometimes they forget. It really annoying.
Mm,
And every system they have the different user interface, and the application behavior is also different. So you see,
mm,
So we have a solution that we want to build a central play. It called orchestration for manage on data, and we provide a unique identifier. Unique identifier and skill, because the data is really sensitive, so it needs to be skill, and we have the user interface and behaviors consistently, so it feel more comfortable.
Mm.
And at the backend side and front end side, I mean in the application, we provide a lot of modern technology and security like SSL, Java, Apache Camel, and the user interface we use React.js. And what next? What?
Yep.
So
Keep going.
yeah, you want to talk something now?
No, I mean just keep going, keep going.
Okay.
Yep. Sorry.
Here, so mapping to the story of shipping the toys into the development progress. So at the development time, we had a good time.
Hmm.
We have the design, analyze the requirement, and we have the solution design, and we build, I mean we code, and then we test. We had unit test, integration test, end-to-end test, acceptance test, and even the UAT, the user acceptance test. We had the happy team. Everything worked perfectly
Yep.
until it come to the production.
That's true. This is
Hmm.
exactly what you were, what you were, Mr. T. So, guys, for your information, the previous accident is was not the accident. It was planned as the part of the presentation. So we want you to experience the feeling of stuck in that situation. Everything work on your machine. Everything work before we jump into the session. And suddenly, once we want to do something, want to deploy something, we thought that we are ready, but we never know what could happen. Just like Mr. T, that it should work, but it doesn't. And you're
Yeah,
gonna be stuck in that situation, for sure, if you don't have well prepared. So I hope you have, know the feeling of the one stuck in that situation.
yeah, it's happened all the time. It it used to work in my machine. It worked
That's
in
true.
localhost.
That's true.
Why it does not work in the customer environment? So Docker will have to sort it out and have a good sleep every time you use Docker to deliver the things.
Mhm.
At least that's what I believe in, and Docker can fix it. Then when we go to the production, it's okay. I know my code is working with the Docker. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Super.
Uh,
As you can see that we put the Docker, why, as you can see, Docker icons is in the development environment, in test environment. Once we do the deployment, we also use the Docker for CI/CD pipelines. So for those who have no idea about CI/CD pipelines, you can just find our previous TikTok, probably search with the keywords CI/CD pipelines and Netcompany, and then you're going to see our TikTok about CI/CD pipeline and how we use CI/CD pipeline for our international projects. And then for the production environment, we also use Docker. This is to make sure that we have everything exactly the same different environment. So we will just not worry about the deployment or the configuration issues anymore. So that's the purpose and how Docker fix the things. Okay, so let me just tell you another story, right? If you think that if we deploy something successfully, then we are done. It's just like you are selling a TV or kind of a fridge to your customer, and you don't care about the warranty, and you don't care about your product, and whatever the product have a problem, right? So it's your customer problem. So it's not how the business run. It's not how the world operating. So let me just tell you the story here. It's very similar, right? So just imagine that I have the toy store, and this is my store again. And after a year of running it, it's get bigger and bigger. It have more client, it have more orders, and I'm very happy with my business that I have more and more orders from my customer. And I have a problem here. It doesn't make sense if I just hire a truck just to ship three or four boxes to my customer. It's such a waste of money, right? And the money is gone. So I'm pretty sad about that situation. So I need to think about an optimal way to ship to deliver my products to the customer in an effective way. So I think, what if I have a truck and I collect all of the orders and ship it as once. So I put all of the boxes inside one truck and ship it as once. So I can maximize the capacity of the truck, and also I can save the money, and then I'm happy, right? And then I can spend the time and the effort on the optimizing the product quality, offering the warranty services, and make my client even happier. And then my business keep growing stable and reliable, right? So that's how the business grow, and that's how you have to care about the services, post you the post deployment or post delivery. It's not just stop at deploy something to the production environment, then your job is done. It's not that way, and it's very the same in the IT world. The game is now on. It's just now on, because on the production environment it's not, that's it, because developer are going to just keep calling you if you are the operator, system operator. Then they're gonna like, why isn't my code up yet? And the other guy just we cannot scale up fast enough. And the other guy just call you at the 3 p.m. while you are sleeping, bloody tired, and ask that, hey, it's 3 p.m., but can you just support me on this? And the power is out again, and game's gonna get stale, boss, and our update circle are too slow. A lot of other problem could be happen on the production environment. And that's why you might wonder, why can't it just work all the time? It cannot. No one can ensure that. Even Facebook or Google, they do have downtime. But how can they, you know, try to avoid it? Try to limit the time, the downtime for their solution, right? So let's just imagine and ask a question: is there any similar game changer in the IT world that can fix the problem? And we don't have to rely on people, rely on human is not a stable, reliable. It's just something that can very risky to the system if we rely on people. So that's why we need to think about, or use a tool that can help us to manage and share the workload, share the responsibilities, and share the tracking as well. So I can give you an example here. So if you think the Docker is the box or the containers, so we need something to carry, and we need something to manage our boxes, right? And we also need to maximize the capacity of our server as well, because it doesn't make sense if you just ran a massive server to just host a simple Docker container. And because you think that, okay, what if next 6 months or a year my business roll up, and there are going to be a lot of customer, I need to get my business ready for that incremental. But it doesn't make sense because you are going to spend a lot of money in the next 6 months or a year. But what can you do to like just use exactly what your business needs and how to scale up stable and reliable, right? So here, as you can see, Kubernetes. And again, I will hand over this very interesting topic to Mr. T, and he's gonna give you an introduction about the Kubernetes and how would it fix the problem. Oh, flashing, really nice. Yep, you can say your screen.
Okay, good,
Okay,
Hảo. Thank you.
sage now. Yep,
You always take the interesting part for me. So,
I love to do it.
so this is really boring academic with the definition and the concept. However, we yeah will try to give you the overview, the inspiration to know what it is. So be patient. So Kubernetes, aka KAS. So there's a fun story in this KAS, a short name. It's just because of A letters between K and S. So maybe the community they are lazy, so they don't want to type fully the Kubernetes, but just KAS. You can also find the K11S. There are some diversion from Kubernetes, and this is an open source system that help you to scale and manage the containerized application. And Kubernetes actually run your application in a cluster. And by the way, mentioning about a cluster, I'm not sure if everyone already knew about cluster, so I just remind a bit. A cluster is just a group of the machines, and one of them is playing role of master. It manage the other servers. And in traditional cluster, the other server in group, we call them slave. But in Kubernetes cluster, we don't usually call slave and master. Okay, in the Kubernetes cluster is same the traditional cluster, but we will see it has the master server. So the traditional cluster also have the master, and then it had the node. It means the slaves if you use a traditional cluster. In Kubernetes cluster, we call master and node. And then the new concept is pod. You will work with pods frequently if you use Kubernetes. The pods are inside the node. And then Kubernetes cluster also have the image registry. This is kind of Docker hubs in the reverse slide. So where is stored the Docker images. So if we have the Kubernetes cluster, you will have the image registry. So sometimes we can use a Docker Hub, but sometimes for some reason, maybe the security reason, we can use the private image registry where we store the images for only using in our company. So and we have the other components also. However, I don't think we have time to talk about all of them. So we will talk about the important ones, port and the deployment. Now let's jump into the port.
Before we moving on, Don, I can see that Jin he asked a very good question that any critical vulnerable security issue related to Docker and DevOps, can you share one solution for one specific issue? I can share my point of view first. Regarding to the security issue, it can come from a different perspective. But within this context, just imagine that Docker is just like a computer where you can put your components or application inside. And if you are talking about the um, the security of the application. It really depends on how you build up your application. And regarding to the Docker, right, and Docker container, for example, you can just always attack it if there is no firewall. It's just like a machine, and the security is really depends on the configuration, and how you what kind of vulnerable that you are preventing. So it's a quite a general and very wise question. So it could be great if you can just elaborate your question a little bit. So what kind of security concern that you are thinking of, and then I think we can just have a very interesting discussion a bit later. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just in the question. So, on those we are coming to Kubernetes session. However, this is a very good question. Thank you, Jing. So to answer this, house ideas is also one of the solutions. We can have some private registry. However, for the vulnerable security issues, so you know that the Docker only package your application, your dependency, your library. So the vulnerable security issue still exists inside your code. It's true. So that Docker also provide the mechanism to scan the vulnerable security inside your binary Docker files. And it's unfortunately, if you are a free user, you can only scan with 10 times. And if you want to scan more with the advanced option to detect more issue regarding to vulnerable security, so you need to use the pay layer. Mean you need to pay money to Docker to use this in advance. Yeah, I hope that this answer your question.
Yep, keep going.
Yeah, I have just seen the another question regarding to choosing the serverless or VM based on the node in the Kubernetes.
Yep, I think we can just get back to the question after we walk through the note slide. So
Okay.
yep, thank you for the question.
Okay, where's my slide?
On my screen.
Okay, so where are we? We are at the port. So we will come back your question later. Uh, now about the port. So if you work with Kubernetes cluster, let's temporarily forget about the term of the application. But here we call the application as port. The port is the most basic unit in a Kubernetes cluster. Or from now on, I will say KAS. It's easier. Yeah, if you remember about the box we delivered earlier, so the port is just the roof of the boxes. Means, in another word, a port represent for one or more containers, and that should be controlled as a single application. Okay. Now jump into a bit pod. You can see a pod can have one. Okay, my mouse here. A pod can have one or two or many containers, and each pod has the IP address. It also have other isolated components. However, I don't like to mention here because it will make you confused. I think so. So I hope that you have an overview of the pod here. And the next one, if you work on Kubernetes, you will also work with the deployment object frequently. So a deployment object actually contains one or many pods, and we define the number of the pods or how will they work in a template. A template is actually just a file. I will show you in next slide. So a deployment template is actually a YAML file. You can write the specification in YAML syntax. Here you can see there are many options here. We cannot talk about all of them here, but there are some highlight points. So for example here, you can specify how many pods you want to run in the cluster, and you can specify the image. So remember about the reverse demo, I deliver the image with the name like login. So we can use that image here. You can just specify here. And the container port, and we can configure the port here. And after that, you write once and run forever. It's mean this template you just need to create once, and then we can reuse many times. Maybe sometime you need to revise a bit, like the number of the ports or the version of the image. Okay, so we have just know about the overview of the Kubernetes. So now we let's see how Kubernetes help us to scale our application. It's again more academic. Sorry about that. I don't have the very fun story, but yeah, it's a very technical. So deployment object is a higher level, and inside this there is a predicate set. So this one, uh, you actually will not work with it much if you work in Kubernetes. Inside, it will help you to ensure that at any time the number of the port will be running as you specify in the template. For example, if you have two ports specified in the template, so Brilica set and deployment in the Kubernetes will ensure for you that at any time there will be two instances of your port. So that's it how this scale your um, application, and how we say this scale reliably. So giving a situation, there are many reasons to let a server down. It's maybe crash, or just something happen and your server is down. And pre set will help you automatically launching another one, so that at any time you will have two instances running. So that's why we say it's scaling and reliably. Okay. Okay. Next, this will be the interesting part again. So we already deliver the Docker images in River demo, and saying that our customer want to scale that application. So I will put the Kubernetes into the picture now.
Before we move into the demonstration, I think we have two new questions added. One from Nhân Phan. His question, or her question, I don't know. Can you share us your thought on choosing between serverless or virtual machine base for the nodes in Kubernetes? Thanks.
Okay, and thanks you for the good question. I think this kind of question is yes and no for easy answer. So it depends on case by case.
Mm,
If your application or your services provide the functionality and it's not stateful, so just choose the serverless model. And if you need to manage something stateful like data or something you need to persist during the timeline of your services, you can choose the VM-based model. So I I cannot say yes or no in this question, but case
mm,
by case depends on the situation.
yeah.
In I can share in our project. In the project I work on, we usually choose the serverless model.
Mm.
Okay.
From what I know, that the market for the serverless application is huge. Is around $7.72 billion just in 2021. So I think it's a very a trendy the way of making application. And I think it's also a good topic that we can do in the future. And I hope Toàn answer your question, Nhân. Moving to the next question from Liam. Why Kubernetes? Is there any considerable advantage it can win against its rival? Or Kubernetes is the zone one in its field? Like why? Simply why we have to use the Kubernetes, right?
Okay. So try to answer this question. It's a very good question. Thank you, Lim. Okay, why KAS? In the very basic level, when your customer want to scale the application or scale the services,
Mm,
you need a platform can help you to do that. You cannot do this with the manual ways. For example, in theory, you can manually launch up 100 instances of the Docker images or the container, but how can you manage it? And if one of them are down, so how can we know which one are down? And if we know which one are down, we need to manually bring up again. Kubernetes will help us to do that automatically and reliably. Sorry. And um, okay, for the second statement, I think the other reason we need to use Kubernetes is about it's famous.
mm,
So it has the very big community. So if you have some problems, you can easily find the support in the community. Just search in Google.
mm.
Yeah.
Don, if you get back to one slide before this slide,
Okay.
yep, one more, this one, yeah. And as you can see that on the screen, once your port is down or a container is down, the Kubernetes know it, immediately know it, and we create a new port for you immediately. So and you can see that on the time your server always have two replicas as the predefined configuration on the top, and you can see that on the time. So you don't have to care about it. You don't have to like always check the status, or you don't have the call at the 3 a.m. just to bring the server up again. So that's what the Kubernetes is gonna save your life. Yep, thanks.
Oh, fine, Nhân. I see your answer in the chat box. I hope
Yep.
that it satisfy you. And Liam is typing. Actually, I personally I still have the other reason to use Kubernetes, but I will let it at the end.
Mm,
It's just simple, but
yeah,
yeah, extremely high availability for true Liam.
that's true.
At least with my knowledge, it's true. And you can also see Amazon Web Service and Microsoft Azure. They also use the Kubernetes. Okay, okay, that's good that we have many questions. Okay, let's go next. Ooh, A demonstration. Uh, demonstration. What we have. We already deliver the Docker image earlier, right? And check on the Docker Hub. It's already uh, uploaded here. And now we need to create a deployment using Kubernetes. Yeah, I already prepared this because I don't think you guys will be patient to see me writing line by line. So I make it earlier. Okay, so you can see we are making the deployment and we have a namespace like in your coding. We make a private place for running our application, a simple name and really cat. Firstly, I will demo with one instance of running pod, and then I will use the image um, login version 2.0, or even I can use the latest one. I will just push to Docker Hub, and I know that my application is configured with the uh, 7500 port, so I specify here. And there are also some options so that you can like allocate your resource like CPU and memory is RAM to your application mean port. And here there are some definition of service. So it's a bit advantage. So if you use cluster, you will need to understand about the networking inside the cluster. So I will not talk much about here, but it's kind of it will map the port inside the cluster into the local host uh, machine. Okay, now okay. Let's check if I already turn off the application. Okay, so this application is running in Docker. So now I need to stop it to make sure. We need to check if any running container. Okay, you see that the container is still running in the background. Try to fork to remove this. And now go to the browser to make sure it's already shut down. Okay, sorry for my super slow machine. Okay, what next? We already have the YAML file. This is the template to create a deployment in Kubernetes. And to interact with the Kubernetes cluster, you will need to install something like qctl. It's just a CLI have you to interact by command line to the cluster. Uh, to create a deployment, just simply uh, give me 1 second, apply. I'm a little bit nervous. Okay, and hyphen F means specify the path to the YAML file. It should be K, yes. And then, okay, it said that it's created the deployment tech talk demo and a service regarding to this. So for mapping the box, currently you just need to imagine that. And we can also interact with Kubernetes with our cluster to get about the status of the deployment. Uh, Hyphen N means that I want to specify the namespace because in my machine there are many namespace created. So just for this, you can see we have one deployment. This is TED Talk demo. It's ready. We can get more detail about this by the other command. Uh, describe the type is deployment and the name. Is it TED Talk? Boom. Okay, so it will list the details of the deployment. I know that's a bit ugly with the command lines. So you can see there are some configuration here. Okay. Mm, what next? Okay, the good news for you, if you don't like the ugly command like this, the Kubernetes actually provide the API in the cluster so that currently in the market there are many free tools. They implemented the API so that they can connect with the Kubernetes in the user interface. I will introduce you one thing. This is the uh, length. length. For example, actually, I think behind the scene it uses the command line, but just wrapped up by the user interface. Now you can. Okay, I think I need to turn it off and then open the new one because I launched this a long time ago. Okay, it's running up. In the meantime, okay, I show my cluster. It's connecting. Okay, and show the overview. Maybe we can choose the namespace. Okay, we are on the right namespace, and you can check out your port here. This is the Tech Talk demo port. And it has some detail here. I don't think it's the right time to talk about all of them, but I hope that it will give you the overview of how Kubernetes work, and you can check about the detail of deployment also here. It actually reflects the data from this thing and then pop up in the user interface. Okay, and what next? Let's check if our pause is running correctly. And go to the browser again. Okay, yeah. Okay, so you can see it's running now, and with one port. Um, okay, still have fun. I will try to show up the how um the scale out and reliably. So I'll try to demonstrate there will two running pod, and then I try to simulate get down one of them, and then the Kubernetes will automatically bring up another one. Okay, uh, how to do that? Firstly, we need to bring down the deployment, and then change the predicate. So for example, I want to have two running pod. I need to save it right, and then I create the deployment again. It will take some time because the cluster is a bit it's not really heavy, but it's also a bit heavy in the local laptop.
Mm. So I think in the meantime, we can answer a new question from Lim as well.
Okay.
From some point, it seems to work well with the microservices approach and DDD. So there is any case that it can be difficult in developing microservice with Kubernetes.
Mm.
I mean, difficulty in developing microservice itself. also a tough challenge for the development team, which is the debugging, because we know that the microservices just communicate to each other about the messages, and it's not reliable actually. And if we need to debug, if we need to find out what is the issue, it's going to take a lot of time just to do all kind of debugging, reading the log as well. So I can relate that into the deployment of the microservices to the Kubernetes. So if we have the multiple pods and we have multiple containers, and once we have an issue or a bug, and then we try to figure out what's the going on, then there are a lot of logs that we need to look into, and you might confuse which part that you're going to look into, and how, on which container you're gonna gonna investigate. And you need to have a central place to collect all of the logs of the solution into one place to support you to do that. So I think the microservices itself is also difficult and also challenge for the development team. But I also see there is another challenge for the development team to work with the not development team, I mean the operation team, to work with the Kubernetes about the static IP. So when it's a pod is down, it will create a new one, and the new IP address going to be assigned to that pod. So what happened if the load balancer or the gateway of the microservices have to communicate with the new pod, right? So there must be a way to communicate between the Kubernetes and the application itself. That, hey, the old pod is down. I just create a new one. This is a new IP address. You need to use this one instead of the old one. So it will require a lot of configuration, and something that the DevOps or the operator need to keep in mind, and also need to align with the development team in order to support each other, to have a end-to-end solution work even in the production environment. So that's a few challenges that I think are going to happen.
Yeah,
Mm,
I think House also reply the question.
mm,
I just want to add more
mm,
from my experience.
yep.
Uh, it's not always we use microservices. So that let's consider if you really need the microservices. If your business or your customer business will be scaled or not, or because it's just new and modern because many people are using this. So let's consider carefully, and because the uh, like Kubernetes is the cluster platform. So setting up a real Kubernetes platform and maintenance is a really expensive cost. I
Mm,
mean, in your effort on or even if you don't use the on-premise version, means you don't have the operators or the engineer who can maintain that in your company. You need to use the service like Amazon Web Service or Microsoft Azure,
mm,
and they are not cheap at all. So that's one of the difficulties, I think.
mm,
Okay, so get back to the demonstration. Okay, so now if I run this command, so I will see two pods are running. You can also see it in the LAN user interface. In the overview, you see we have a two pod running. In the pause, you can see the name.
mm,
And okay, so now I just quickly to a manual delete means you can imagine that I'm shutting down a server, a node.
mm.
Okay, so you see Kubernetes will
Nice.
immediately automatically create a new one, so that if you think about the customer perspective, they will nearly no downtime in service.
Mm,
Yeah, that's why we say that it scale reliably.
yep.
Okay. And where my slide again? Okay, that's the demonstration about Kubernetes, and we actually use the Docker image we deliver in the reverse demo. Okay, that's it, the hello world in Kubernetes, and now I will share you a snapshot from my real project.
Oh.
In the real project, we don't have just a very simple Kubernetes cluster. We have many different environments. The number of the servers can be hundreds.
Mhm.
So if you don't use Kubernetes or any cluster platform, you cannot. It's nearly impossible to manage your scale project. So it's just a snapshot. And at here, I also want to remind about the last reason I want to use Kubernetes regarding to the question from Lim. That's it. It's customer, the communities. So the big guys in the IT world are using this. So why don't we use it? Especially if you guys know about Pokemon Go game. I believe most of us know that, right? This is the biggest deployment by Kubernetes powered by Google. You can search or verify that information in the Google. So here you can see the user of Docker and Kubernetes. There are our friends Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, Netflix, eBay, Spotify, and many others big guys.
Mm.
Huawei also. Okay, key takeaway. Let's. I believe that we talk about many things. However, in the short session like this, I don't expect you guys will like remember everything, but some key takeaway here. So using Docker, it saves you from the health matrix of the compatibility. Oh, my slide is sorry. And the second thing, Docker reduce your effort in packaging and shipping the software solution. So without Docker, this packaging, shipping, and deploying will be the big hassle. The next thing, Kubernetes have your production scale out reliably. There are 2 points. It scale out and it reliably. This is already proved in the demo. And the last point, regardless how smart your solution is meaningless until it's deployed successfully. I think this is the key point. Let's think about the deployment. Okay, I think we went through all of things, and this is time for question and answer.
Super cool. Thanks, Mr. T.
Okay, any question? How about one question from Lim?
Yep.
How about the scale up in Docker and Kubernetes? Okay, that's a good question. Uh-huh. Another question from Nhân. What's your thought about the blockchain technology with Kubernetes? Okay, the question from Nhân is easier, so I will answer it first.
Good
So
choice.
Kubernetes will be applicable for any system if you want to scale out. It's regardless blockchain or enterprise or CSM, whatever. If you want to scale out your production, you can use Kubernetes. That's my opinion and my experience. And regarding to the question, Rumlim, it's a really good question. How about a scale up? Um, I think, in my opinion, the Docker and Kubernetes is mostly about the scale out. If you want to scale up, maybe and can be improve the hardware, improve the storage, the bandwidth. It's not really about the scale out. For the other people, I think Lim had a good point here. We need to differentiate the scale up and scale out.
Yeah, that's true.
Scale out means that you have one or just a few services. So now you want to make the your service is able to serve more and more people, more user. You can like multiply your services into many instances, and Docker and Kubernetes can help in this case perfectly, I think. But about the scale up, you want to make your application bigger. It's not many of instances, but it's really stronger and bigger. And in my opinion, is not really applicable for Kubernetes. And I will be so sorry if I'm wrong. I just answer from my experience.
I think even for now, Microsoft Azure and also Amazon Web Services, they also offer a lot of kind of services or tool that support you to scale up actually. So scale up is just about adding more the hardware resources to serve for your application or solution. But for scaling out is where the Kubernetes wanna rule the world.
Okay, I think Nhân is sharing something about Docker and Kubernetes are getting divorced. Yes, true that Kubernetes are deprecating Docker.
That's true.
However, I would like to clarify something for you. So we knew it before the tech talk,
Mm,
but actually it does not impact much into the opinion or the knowledge
mm,
we has been sharing in this session.
that's true.
So you use the Docker and Kubernetes in your software development life cycle,
Mm,
and Kubernetes can deprecate Docker inside the engine. It does not matter. It does not change anything in the life cycle in
mm,
your project.
mm,
If you want to know more details,
mhm.
why is this? You can just read a little bit more in this news, or you can inbox me. I can explain. I also read about it.
Yeah, nothing is for forever. So there's one day, you know.
Hmm.
But I think the key points and the key takeaway is that we have an understanding about what is Docker and when and why we use Docker, and what is a Kubernetes and when and why we use the Kubernetes. It's not necessary that we have to use Docker and Kubernetes every time. So we can use like whatever, like serverless with the Kubernetes or virtual machine with the Kubernetes. It's up to you, and it's up to your circumstance and situation to use it. To pick what fit to you. But hopefully today, I think we share with you some ideas about Docker and Kubernetes and the combination of them and what the issue that these two tools are going to have you to resolve, especially students that you wanted to um, do the demonstration or deploy something to like for your thesis, for example, like instead of me and Tuan 10 years ago, we used the USB. So don't do it nowadays. So try to use something fashion and cool. All right. So I think that's also we also reaching to the end of the session today. Can you click on the next slide, Mr. T, please? So if you have any kind of feedback, feel free to scan the QR code and send your feedback to our team here. And if you want to follow us on Facebook, also scan the QR code on the right hand side. And we also have a lot of interesting jobs that offering to the talented IT graduate software developers, test automation specialists, and manual test specialists. Feel free to apply, and I hope that me and Toan are going to see you all one day very soon in Netcompany. And yeah, have a wonderful night, everyone, and thanks for your time to be with us tonight. And looking forward to see you again in the upcoming Tech Talk with Netcompany. Have a great night and enjoy your dinner for those who have not had the dinner yet. So thank you so much.
Thank you all for your participating.
Cheers. Bye bye.